I think we are live. Hi, Tara. Hi, Pat. Just finished setting up here just a second. Hi, Sue and Louise. Yay, there's Jamie. Okay, let me finish opening everything. It was storming here, so I had to shut everything down, and now I have to bring everything back up. All right. I think that's everything. I'm going to go ahead and play the intro, and we'll go ahead and get started, guys. Okay, and that was an ad for EJ Prince. She has a YouTube channel and an Etsy shop. You guys can check her out. And that is Miss Naomi, who is a member of our group and a Patreon. Hi, Susan. Hi, Denise. All right, guys. So let me just pop over here to the overhead, and we will talk just a second. I want to make sure that I'm in focus for you guys and everything looks good. There we go. Hopefully. It may need to autofocus here. There we go. That's better. Yeah, it doesn't want to play nice today for some reason. I am going to dim this a little bit because we're working with acetate tonight, guys. This is the card that I did, and I've already cut one so that you guys can see. And we're going to not talk so much and do so much with, because this is a really quick, super easy card to put together. And yes, you can cut this on your Joy. It should fit because you're doing these panels. Now this piece you may have to cut by hand if you're doing it with the Joy, but I'm going to show you how to design this card so that you could design it for your Joy and make it the size you need to fit. So this is something that all the machines will cut, and it's going to be super quick, super easy. But I wanted to cover more tonight about, because we have lots of new people, I want to cover more about how to design a card rather than assemble a card. We are going to put it together, but we are also going to go and make one absolutely from scratch. So let's pop over to the monitor and we'll get started on that. While we're switching over, I want to say thank you to all of my Ko-fi and Patreon supporters, and thank you very, very much to all of our moderators. You guys are fantastic. So this is the card that's uploaded for all of you supporters. It is on the website, craftingwithapril.co, and you'll use your black password box code for that. But I want to show you guys how to create this from nothing. So this is the border that I used to make this one, and that's the one that we're going to leave in the file. I am going to hide it, so if you've already gotten the file, it may show up hidden when you open it up. If I forget, you guys remind me and I'll bring it back up. But we're going to start, and we're going to design one that's a little similar to this, using a different pattern than the one that we're going to put together, so that you can see how to build these cards from a blank canvas, okay? It's still going to be there, but you're going to have two cards is what I'm trying to say in this file. So if you've already gotten the file, you may want to run back when we're finished tonight and load it again, okay? So because it's going to be different because we're adding to it. So when you're designing a card and you're in Design Space, we're going to pretend that we don't have anything up here and that it's a brand new project. The first thing that I do is go and get my shape to make my base, which is a square. And then you have to decide what size you want your card. Do you want a 5x7 card finished, or do you want an A2, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2? Or do you want a square 6x6 card? You need to figure out, because this card will work for any of those, any of them, okay? So that's the first thing that you want to decide is what size you want your card to be. And as most of you know, I am a 5x7 fan. I know a lot of people like the A2s because you can get 2 cards out of an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of paper. But when we're cutting it on the Cricut, you're not going to get 2 cards out of 8 1/2 by 11 because you have to give it that border on the mat, that 1/4 inch. So you lose that anyway. So that's why I'm a fan of 5x7s on the Cricut. If I'm going to have a little bit of waste, I want the bigger card. So that's why I choose 5x7s. But you can most certainly choose anything you want. So if you guys want to open up your Design Space, if you don't know how to do this, and if you're learning, open it up and follow along. So what I've done is I've got the square and I've unlocked it. You can unlock it here on the toolbar, or you can unlock it and lock it on the quick handles, okay? So we've got it unlocked, and then I'm going to come up here to size. And I want my finished card to be a 5x7, but if I put 5x7 in here, that's all I'm going to get. It's a 5x7. We have to double one of the sides for our fold to get that 5x7 card after it's folded. And we know that we can't do 14-inch unless we have the 24-inch paper. And that would be a really long card. It's possible, and I have made some by request, to be that long. But you do need the longer paper to do that. So the way that we get around that is we double the short side and make it a 10x7. And then we lock it back. Okay, and you can see that it's locked. Again, you can click here or the quick handle. And now we have a 10x7-inch square. What we're going to do next is go back to shapes, because you have to have a score line so you know where to fold your card. That score line is going to come in at 3.111, just like your basic, all your basic shapes are at that size. And we're just going to change that to 7. You don't have to unlock it or anything like that. So you're just going to change that to 7 inches. And before I attach, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change this base to a very, very, very pale light blue, just so you guys can see it better on the screen. And that tells me, if you know most of my files, if I have used a light pale, pale, pale blue in my files, it usually represents acetate. And if I do a really, really, really light gray, it usually indicates vellum. So that's about where I put it, that light of a blue for my acetate. And that's just me. You can make it whatever color you want so that you know what your material you're cutting. So make it the color you want. Then you're going to select everything. You're going to select your score line and your shape. And if you look in your layers panel, you have both of them selected. Ignore the group. That's the card that I hid. These two here are what you should have. You're going to select them both. You're going to come up to your toolbar. You're going to align center. And that's going to center up that score line. The next thing you need to do is attach. Okay? Now this is what I call a book fold. I don't know what you guys call it, but I call this a book fold. And that's where I'm going to fold that right in the center. It's going to be 7 inches long and 5 inches wide once I fold it. Now if you want what I call a flip fold, you want to come up here to rotate, and change that to 90 degrees. And now we have that flip fold card. Okay, and that's where it opens from the bottom up instead of right to left. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Okay, for this card, and I'm going to pop right, we're going to be going back and forth a little bit so that all of the new people will know exactly what we're talking about and what step we're doing on this card. So I'm going to pop overhead. On this card that I did, I wanted a ribbon up here at the top. And we know when we're working with acetate and vellum that glues and stuff show up. And they're not very appealing on our cards when we have something like this. So I wanted to be able to run that through and tie it on there rather than glue it or use a pop dot. Now you certainly can do that, but just be aware that if you use a pop dot or glue, when you open it up, you're going to see it, okay, on this acetate. So the way that I got around that was putting a couple of holes. So let's go back over. I'm going to make sure that we transition. So the next thing I need to do to make those holes is get a circle. So let's go to Shapes and grab a circle. And I usually make mine 0.15 to 0.25. So a quarter is kind of large for this. So I'm going to go 0.15. And now I have that tiny little circle. Now when you're doing this, you've already rotated your card. This is the top of your card. This is the bottom of your card. That's very important because you don't need the holes to go through both. You just want them on one half of the card. So I'm going to duplicate that circle and I'm going to bring it up and give it some space, maybe about 1 inch. That looks pretty good to me. And I'm going to select both of them. We're going to align to the top. And that's just going to make sure that they're spaced like you want them. Once you've got them spaced like you want them, the right amount of space, you're just going to align them top to make sure that they're even and they're level and they're not cattywampus. Okay? You don't want them to be off. And then you're just going to weld those 2 dots or circles. You're going to weld them. Then we're going to come over here. That looks good to me. I just want it right up near the score line, but giving me a little bit of space to work with. I am now going to detach my score line, and I'm going to arrange and move this whole thing to the back so that I can see my dots. I'm going to select those and just my card base, and we're going to align and center it horizontally. That way I know I've got it right in the center. And if you'll look in the layers panel, I have the 2 dots that I welded and the card base. The reason I welded those 2 dots before I did this step is because you can see 2 layers are selected. You cannot slice if you have more than 2 layers selected. It will not light up. If you look down at the bottom of the screen in that layers panel, you'll see that slice is lit up and available. Watch what happens if I select everything. It is no longer available. It's grayed out. And that's because I now have my score line, my welded 2 circles, and my square are all selected. I have 3 layers selected, and it's not going to allow me to do it. But if I just select layer 1, which is my welded 2 circles, and my square, which is my base, now I can slice. And now I'm going to get rid of the trash. That's what slicing does. Slicing cuts a hole in it. Okay? And just so you guys can see that those holes are sliced in there, let me change that canvas color to, let's just go to black. And you can see now it's sliced in there. You can see those 2 holes. Okay? Let's change that back so we can see. And now I'm going to arrange. I'm going to send that to the back. And just in case I bumped anything or moved anything while I was slicing, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to realign, center, and get my score line, make sure it's center, and we're going to attach it back. And then you're going to save. Okay? You want to save as you go. Now we have our card base done. Now we need to decorate that card base, and we know we're going to cut that out of acetate. So now we need to add some elements to it to pretty up that base. Okay, so now let's go over to images, and we're going to search for borders. Okay, and when you come in here and look in Design Space, there are tons of borders and different things that you can choose. And a lot of these, even this one right here, will work for you. You need to choose something that you like and something that you want to work with. Okay. Let's make this one super simple, maybe, and that one would be pretty too. You could use this. Tons of things. All of these will work. Every single one of these are going to work. I want to do a wave so that you guys can see. That would be cute too, and put some photos in there. That would be really cute. Let's select that one so I can show you guys how to use it. This one would be really cute. The glasses would be cute. I'm looking for something wavy. And there's a reason, because I want to show you guys what happens if you skew. You could slice this out too of something. We'll grab that one just so I can show you a different way of doing them. I know that there was a wavy border in here. I saw it. That one might do it. I need something that's going to skew. So let's just bring some of those in. Welcome, welcome. We have a new subscriber. And some of these are going to come in quite large, guys. Don't worry about it. All I do is come up here to size, and I just make them 7 inches because I know that that's how wide my card is, 7 inches. So I just change them all right off the bat. These that come in like 12 inches here, I'm going to change it to 7 inches. Just going to pull it out of the way. Same here, we're going to change that to 7. And then we'll change this to 7. Okay, so now we have a couple of borders, and a couple of these have shadow layers, and I basically just get rid of the shadow layer. If you want it, that's one thing, but you don't need it. So I'm just going to hide those out of the way. So now we have several little options here. When you're making your border, you want to be sure that it is the exact width. And I'm saying that because if you go and you try to change this to make it wider, and by unlocking it, look what happens. It's not as cute and not as pretty when you do that. Okay, it changes the whole line. Now, if you're looking for something that you want more stretched than this is, that would work perfect. But if you want that nice smooth edge that you see here, you don't want to do that. So how do we get around that? What I do is I come in and I get a shape and I get a square, and then I unlock it and I make it 7 inches wide. Okay, and I don't worry about how wide it is or anything at this point, because I'm going to be doing a couple of them. So I'm just going to duplicate this a couple of times, and we're just going to slide them off to the side, because there are different ways to do these. And I may leave all of these in the file for you guys. So you need to decide how much of the acetate you want to see. And to me, I kind of like it, right there about half. And if you look, that's a little large. So I'm just going to skew that down and lock it back. But first I'm going to make sure I'm going to unlock it and make sure that I didn't change it off my 7 inches wide, because you want it to be the exact width of your card. And then you're going to bring in this element and just bring it down. So if you're looking to make this look like clouds, This little one with the rounds would be great. So you are going to select that one, select the gray piece. You're going to align, center them horizontally, okay, and then weld. And now you have that cute little shape that's going to go on there. You have plenty of room to put a tag. You have plenty of room to put a sentiment for the inside because you're going to need 4 of each one of these. So you would duplicate that 4 times. You can, if it helps you, you can come up here and you can flip one vertically and know that that goes to the inside. This one will go to the back. You want to make sure that they're lining up because if they're different, and these are different on both sides, when it's closed, you want them to be the same. So I'm going to duplicate that one again and move that one to the back. So now you can go in there, and if you want to do some cutouts of circles in there, you could do that in each one of these little areas of various sizes and shapes and really dress that one up. Okay, so that's how you can do one of them. And we're just going to bring those down out of the way. And I'll group those and we'll hide them. I'll leave those in the file if somebody wants them. You can go in and decorate that up any way that you want. That would be really super cute with some little holes in it all the way through, and then maybe put a circle tag with a circle shadow layer behind it for your tag. And we'll do tags in just a moment. For one like this one is going to be the same as the other, but you're going to just unlock and skew this down. You're not going to need as much, and you don't want to cover the holes, okay? That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to select both and move it down and just see. And that leaves plenty of area up there. It looks good. You just want to eyeball it. So that looks great. So make sure that that is 7 inches. Or whatever width your card. If you did a 6x6 card, you're going to make it 6 inches. If you did the A2, you're going to make sure that it's, depending on which way your card is going, you're going to make sure that it's probably 5.5 if you're doing the same flip fold that we're doing here. Again, align, center horizontally, and then weld it. And now that would be really cute with some photos behind it and this acetate up here at the front. Super, super cute. Okay? And again, you need 4 for this card. So you're just going to duplicate those. We're going to select those and we're going to group them. And now we're going to hide that group. So you guys are getting a bunch of cards in this file. See if I can get some of these groups out of the way. And I showed you what I meant by skewing on that one. If you try to stretch this, okay, this one's already squared up at the bottom. And if I try to stretch that, you see what happens to the top of it? And that's why we're doing the welding instead of unlocking this and skewing it to make it fit, because it just totally changes the shape of that. Okay? Does everybody follow me as to why we're doing it that way with those? You never want to skew anything if you don't have to, unless that's a look you're going for. Now for one like this, where you want to cut out in there, you can place this even down the center. This would be pretty. So I'm just going to align this center. And you want to make sure that your gray piece, or whatever color you've made that piece, is the width that you want it. And I want this a little bit wide because this is curvy. So I'm not going to have as much acetate here at the top. But I do want it to be a little bit wider than I normally would, just because that's really curvy. So we're going to select the 2 and we're going to slice. And we're going to get rid of the trash. We don't need that. So that's going to be super pretty on a card right there. And let's just go in and change it and make it a pretty color. Okay, and now I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to send that one to the back. And I'm going to duplicate it again and bring that one to the front. And then I'm going to duplicate it again and send that to the back. Well, actually, I'm not going to send that to the back, not right now. If you're going to be cutting out a pattern paper like I did, You're going to want to make sure that they're going to line up, okay? Because now we have flipped this. If they're out of solid, you're okay, just like they are. If you're going to put writing on this, your writing's going to have to be upside down over here, just so you guys can see. Let's go and get happy birthday. And if you're brand new to this, I do encourage that you cut a couple of pieces on copy paper just so you can see. That one's going to be kind of big. That's a wrong one for this card. Let's, I'm having a mouse issue. Here we go. Here we go. That one will work. If you're going to do happy birthday and attach some writing, you want to make sure that this is going to line up. And it does out of solid paper, and we're fine and we're good there. But you've got to remember, this is going to fold down. So we have to rotate this 270 degrees, I believe, 180 degrees. And then you would attach that to the front of your card, aligning it, and then attach. So that when this is folded down on the other side, that it reads the correct way. Because if you don't, and you just pop it on there, when you go to put this on, you can see what happens. They're not going to line up. Okay? So that's what I do. I go ahead and I flip my piece so that I have it already flipped, and then I just also flip my sentiment. On the bottom one, you can just put your sentiment right here, and it's going to be fine. It needs to read the correct way. So just so you can see, let me duplicate that and rotate it 0. So if you're putting a sentiment on the inside, it will go just like this, because that's the way it's going to read. So always, when you're new to this and you're not sure which way your writing needs to go, you cut a couple of them on copy paper just so you can see if everything is lining up for you before you use your good materials. That being said, if you are using a pattern paper on the front like I did with mine, you'll want to change the color of this one and make it a slightly different color. And what I did was I actually flipped my paper over and put my pattern side down. It's much easier that way, trust me. But if you're writing on it, you can't do that, and you will need to flip this. We're going to detach it. You would need to flip this horizontally as well as vertically, then attach. And you're going to, if you're doing pattern paper, you have to do this with writing face up. So you can't put it face down and cut it because you've got the writing. Did that make sense? I don't want to confuse anybody. And that's why I say, if you're new to it, you want to do a couple of them on some copy paper to make sure you've got everything arranged correctly if you're adding writing and you're having to flip pieces. And this is a little bit of a difficult card if you're brand new at card making, so you may want to use stamps rather than writing until you're used to it. So make sure that you flip horizontally and vertically if you're using pattern paper and attaching writing. You can just flip it vertically if you want to do no writing and stamp on the front and just cut your pattern paper pretty side to the mat. I've done it so much that it's almost second nature to me. And when I first started, it was extremely confusing for me. Oh, thanks, Jan. So is everybody with me on that? Anybody need me to explain that further? I am not going to leave these in there just simply because I don't want anybody getting confused. I'm going to get rid of that and duplicate it. And then you guys can work with it from solid colors and then work your way up to patterns. But we're just going to leave that in there. And when you're slicing these, make sure that you have enough of a little edge on here. This one looks like it's okay. You don't want it to cut all the way through. You want to leave yourself just a little bit of area. But you can cut these on your Cricut joists as well. Now these center pieces here are going to fall out. Don't worry about those. You can contour them out if you want to on some of these flowers. I use Nuvo drops when that happens. I don't fool with trying to save all those teeny tiny little pieces to glue back on. I just use pearls or Nuvo drops or something like that. So pay attention to that when you're picking your pattern. Are you going to lose little center pieces like this? And so the last thing that you do, I'm going to group all of these and we're going to hide it. And we're going to bring back that group. So all I did here was go and search for a tag and add happy birthday to it. And you can see that this is lighter than this. They're all flipped the right way. When I cut my pattern paper on this right hand side here, all I did was put my pattern to the mat. And everything else cuts normally. But all I did here was search for a tag. There's tons of shapes and everything. Make sure you've got one with a shadow layer. I just did this one in black so that it would show up on the canvas to show it had a shadow layer. But I actually cut mine out of white. It just shows up better for the camera. So I'm going to save this. And you guys can go and get that. And you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, 5 cards in there. Because every time you add a border and do a different border, that gives you another card. And these will work with vellum and with acetate. Okay? So if you want that little smoky look with the vellum, that would be pretty. Or if you've got some gold vellum, that would be pretty as well. So let's pop over and make it. And if you have questions, guys, just ask. We can pop back over here and answer them. So here we are. And I just love the way that this turns out because you can see, it's going to be hard for the camera, but you can see all the way through. Because the way we did this, I put my pattern on the top. And then I put my solid inside. I've got my writing inside. And then I've got patterned on the back. And you can see all the way through from one side. It's really hard to see without a color back there. But you can see all the pink through there now. It lines up perfectly and everything will work out just fine. For this card, I did use the Cricut foil acetate, the pinpoint sampler. See if I can get that exposure. Pinpoint sampler. That's the one that I got, that I chose my acetate from. And I used die cuts with a view. Cute cacti. I don't know if this is still available at Michael's, guys, but you know, any of the papers will work. And then I matched up my Cricut teal paper, I forgot the actual name of it, to that. Something that coordinates from Cricut. Okay? Oh, thanks, Louise. Super simple and easy. And out of that cute cacti, guys, it had some pinks and stuff, and you can't see them on this, and that's why I'm doing a white border on this one. But they have some little pinks and stuff like that through there. And I thought that that was a really good coordinating color. And that's how I chose my Nuvo drops. You can see the pinks and stuff that come in there. All of them have a little bit. So that was why I chose Party Pink Nuvo drops. So the first thing we're going to do is take our acetate. I've got my holes there. And I am just going to fold on the score line. I'm just going to pinch it, making sure that it's completely lined up and square to get me started, because the score line can be hard to see. It's there, and it will take it. All you have to do is just make sure that you've got it going good, lined up. the scoring wheel does a really nice job on this acetate. I'm just going to give it a little press with my bone folder. And I'm going to come in here. I have a straight pen. I don't know what side. There it is. Your acetate has a clear protective coating, so you want to pull that off. And you can see what a difference it makes in its clarity. Okay, so make sure you pull that off. And then I just took a length of ribbon. I think these are my bad scissors. They are. I have destroyed this pair of scissors. And I don't know, I just guesstimate, guys. I don't, 18, 8, 26 inches of ribbon, right? 18, 8, 26, 20, yep. And then I just, from the inside, I'm just going to pull that through. And I'm going to make sure it's laying flat when I pull it through over here. And then we're just going to even it up. And I like to just tie a knot because I like to do rabbit ear bows. Just kind of hold that. That way it's just going to stay in place and I won't have to fight it while I tie my loops. So I tie my first rabbit ear, and then I'm just going to get that about how wide I want it to be. I'm not worried about it being off to the center or anything because I'm tying two more. You can, depends on how long you make your ribbon as to how many times you can do this. If you want 6 loops, you can keep going. Or tie your bows the way you like them. But to me, it kind of, doing 4 kind of looks like a little butterfly bow. Tighten those up, bring those in. I'm not going to sit here and fuss with it. Usually I fuss with my bow for about 20 minutes because I'm not a good bow tire. And then you can trim off these links to whatever lengths you want. Make sure your tails are straight. And I'll fuss with it some more later. But you can see how I've got this one on here. Super cute. And then, before you start gluing, make sure that you have your pieces set and aligned the way that they go. And this one has a little telltale curve over here where it cut off, and that was just the way the design was. And then this one too. So I've got these lined up and they're correct. Now I want to make sure that they're correct on the card. And this is what I mean. They are going to go 2 different directions, or actually the same direction but flipped. Okay, this one is the back, which makes this one the inside. So it's going to go to the back like this, with this curve to the right. And then this one is going to go to the front with the curve to the right. Okay, just like that. And that's how you're going to put them together. You're just going to make sure that all of them are facing the same way. And then I'm using art glitter glue. And don't pay attention to my great big jug because I accidentally threw out my small bottle. I found another one, but it's full. And I just didn't have time to switch it over. So I have my gigantic 32 ounce, 16 ounce bottle. I've had this for about 2 years now. but I had tons of bottles. Oh, you're Cricut challenged. You're not Cricut challenged. You're just learning. So let me fight my glue here, my art glitter glue. Art glitter glue does dry matte. It dries clear. So you want to be kind of careful when you're doing this. Now you can use your Xyrons and stuff like that to put this on, but I like my fine tip, just a little bit of glue, and you can see on this top edge, I'm just kind of dotting. I'm not really putting a lot. It will hold for your acetates. You can use your tape runners, you can use your Xyrons, your Creative Stations, whatever you have that you like to use. But I'm going to start with the front piece, and I'm going to align it directly on to the bottom. Not worried about the top up there. I'm just going to align it, make sure that it's on the bottom and the sides are even, and then I'm just going to press it down. And if you have a little bit of glue squish out, don't worry about it. You can take a Q-tip, a baby wipe, anything, and just go around the edge and lift some of that glue out, because it will dry matte and clear, and you want this to be very clear. Now if you're working with vellum, and that's why we're doing this card this way, as you can see that glue through here. The camera will pick it up. You can see it. And you can see, now it will dry, like I said, clear and matte. But when you're working with vellum and acetate, they're always going to show to some small degree. Okay? So that's why we're doing the back liner. I'm making sure I got the right one and that I'm gluing the correct side. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to place a little bit of glue on there. If it gets a little heavy, I'll just send it to the center. Get those corners. And this can be a little tricky because now we're just going to flip it over and we're going to align that right in place. Try to do it in one fatal swoop so you don't get glue on the inside like I just did. Get it lined up really well with that front piece. And if you do it on the bottom and the sides, it should line up perfectly. Okay. Then we're going to do the inside. We're going to make sure that it lines up with this piece up here so that we have that little, everything is going to line up. Open that back up just a little bit. And make sure you glue the correct side. I'm catching up on chat. So now I'm just going to line this up. Stick that down. We're just going to flip it over. If you have any glue, squish out. Make sure you get it right away off your acetate, because you want it to be nice and bright and shiny. I can't wait to see some of it in the color acetates. If anybody has any of the colors, I do, but I didn't have time to pick paper to match it. Oh, and you work for JCPenney? We have, we have a distribution center. I used to know a lot of people that worked for them in Forest Park, Georgia. And again, just a little bit of glue. And if you get heavy in places, make sure, like I just dripped, just gonna go in and smooth it down before I stick it. If you got any heavy spots. Now we've got that flipped over, and we're gonna align it right on the bottom. Scooch it in place. How cute is that? Okay, and I did pick a pattern paper out of mine, but you can see on the edges, I didn't like how it blended in. My colors matched so closely that it kind of made it look a little wonky. So this one I'm going to flip over and give it that totally white edge all the way around. And I just glued this right to its shadow layer. Just like so. Try to get it even. I don't want to scooch now. We'll live with it. And then I use some foam dots on the back of it to pop it up. It's a big tag, so I used 2 on each side. You could put some in the center if you want. Just going to take the paper off of there. And I get, these are the ones from close to my heart. They come in different sizes and variations. And then we're just going to center it up. And now this one is designed to cover just a little bit of this in the center. Just for some dimension. And then I took my Nuvo drops to fill in all of the little flower centers. Again, you can use pearls, you can use your glitter drops, your rainbow ranger stickles, Nuvo drops. And then I just did a couple down here. Now I did not write on the inside of this one because I have plans for this one and I want to do a stamp that I have on the inside of it. But the other one I did write. And that's it, guys. Super, super simple, easy, and quick card. Takes really no time if you practice to lay out, pick a border and lay it out. Super simple, super quick. Goes together really quick. Looks really nice and elegant. And you can see here's my Nuvo drops on this one are dry. But you even have that little pop of color showing through the acetate on the inside. Oh, thanks, Sue. Yeah, you got to give them that little bit of extra oomph. Just that little bit of punch. And I did use the gel tip glitter in black on these guys. So you have a great night, Vicki. Thanks for joining me. Trying to catch up on my chat here. Give me just 1 second. My mouse doesn't want to move. Oh, you're welcome, Jan. Thank you, Pat. Super easy, super simple. So what I'm trying to do, guys, is not make everything about the files because we have tons of files. If you're a supporter, you know there are tons of files. I am trying to not just give you guys a file, but showing you how to create those files as well. Some of the most complicated ones I won't go into unless you're advanced, and I'm thinking about maybe doing an advanced tutorials for those. But on Mondays and Wednesdays, instead of just assembly, we're going to go through on how to design the design whenever possible. And next on the calendar. Yes, thank you, Sue. We have our 12 days of Christmas in July coming up. So, and I don't start that on the 1st of July because we have the 4th of July week, of course. So let me take a look at our calendar and see. Looks like July 6th. On July 6th, we're going to start my 12 days of Christmas files. And I'm not going to promise. I did it last year and I almost didn't make it. But I did 3 files a day for 12 days. Okay? And the way that that's going to work is there will be an exclusive file all 12 days from the 6th to the 18th for our Patreon, Ko-fi, and YouTube memberships, Cutie Collector and Higher. There will be an exclusive file for you. They may come in the form of recorded tutorials. If it lands on a Monday, I may make it our live. So it just depends on how many files I can pop out. I will try to release 3 files a day. The second file will be for one-time supporters as well as my Patreons and Ko-fi supporters. And the third file will be a freebie public file. So if you are a Ko-fi supporter or a Patreon supporter monthly, you will get a total of around 18 files. That's about 3. Okay, so if you're not signed up with Ko-fi and Patreon and you're going to want all those files, you're going to need to sign up to get them. Because, like I said, that second file will be for one-time supporters only. It will not be retroactive when I start those 12 days of Christmas. If you want that file, you have to be a subscriber on the one-time monthly to get it. If you come in on the day after, you will have to be monthly to get it because it's not going to go back to day 1 so that you can get it. So if you join on one-time support on the 5th day, you're going to get the 5th day to the 12th. You're not going to get days 1 through 4. Okay, so this is the time if you're going to get files for Christmas and to become a monthly supporter to get those. And you can cancel anytime. It's okay if you just join for the month and get all of the files and then you don't do it again. That's okay too. But the most complicated and the best files will be strictly for monthly supporters. Okay? We're going to do all sorts of things from treat boxes to lip balm, all sorts of neighbor stuff, maybe some signs. I'm possibly going to do an epoxy cup in there somewhere. So tons of stuff coming your way for the 6th of July to the 18th, the 12 days of Christmas. Yes, Kim. I did the Design Space, Learn Design Space videos. And if you're brand new and you're wanting to learn to design like we did tonight, and me show you all the ins and outs on how to make that card, I strongly suggest that you take a couple of hours and watch those learning videos. You're not going to remember everything. We don't expect you to, but you will be familiar. And it's going to help you a ton. Oh, thanks, Kim. Yeah, those are the best. I love the Christmas in July. Some of the best files pop out then. So, And if you have any requests and you want to see those in the 12 Days of Christmas files, or something you would like to see me do something similar to, please don't hesitate to message me and let me know so that I can get them in that list. Don't worry if it doesn't make the list, because we have from now to Christmas to get those files created. So make sure that if you have any ideas, you let me know. All right. Thank you for joining me, guys. Thank you, moderators. Thank you to all of my supporters. Greatly appreciate you guys. If you need any help, don't hesitate to message me. I'm here for all of my supporters all the time. And that's okay. Playbacks are always going to be available, Jan. You can always go and play back. So you guys have a wonderful evening. I will catch you Wednesday here on YouTube, and then we have a live on Friday on Facebook Live. So 2 more lives this week. Not sure what we're going to do yet. I'm still working some things out. You guys have a wonderful evening. I'll catch you on Wednesday.